So it's January 2022. We're getting down to the wire with my latest show, which is 9 to 5. Music and lyrics by Dolly Parton, book by Patricia Resnick, based on the 20th Century Fox picture. Originally produced on Broadway by Robert Greenblatt, April 2009. There are a few movies that we remember forever. More than a few. There are some movies that we remember forever. And 9 to 5 is one for me and many people my age. Dolly Parton's first film. Jane Fonda and Lily Tomlin join her. So the three female leads, yeah, that's a powerful archetype, I suppose, or powerful theme. You got Charlie's Angels with the three girls, yeah, and the same issues of whether they're girls or whether they're women. The Supremes are three women. Witches of Eastwick is three. I always wanted them to make another Witches of Eastwick while Jack Nicholson was still with us. Now that I'm more cognizant of witches in real life and not just in movies, I'm thinking, maybe we have enough witch movies. We've got Hocus Pocus with the three witches. We've got that whole brunette, redhead, and blonde thing going on, which kind of represents all women, all white women, but it ignores the other women. So we've got 9 to 5 with the three women leading the pack, working women. The play says that it takes place in 1979. I thought it was a little later than that when I saw the movie. There's a really good scene when they're taking the body that they think is their boss and they're running around in the hospital. And I'm playing the body in this version, so I have to not laugh while they're being hilarious. The writing is hilarious, and it's reproduced in the stage play, and our actors are doing a great job being hilarious also. Not necessarily trying to copy the hilarity that was in the film, but I'm in that scene, supposed to be silent and supposed to not move, and I'm under the stage lights and it's hot, and I'm trying to breathe without looking like I'm breathing, and I'm trying not to laugh, and it's just hilarious. When Violet throws down the coat and pretends like she's a doctor quitting her profession because of some random thing some random guy she's never met has done, just to be funny. She's doing it just to be funny. And then Judy says, "I hope you're happy. Healing was her life." It's just hilarious. It's just good writing. You'll enjoy the movie 9 to 5 if you haven't seen it for a decade or two, or even if you've never seen it, you'll enjoy it. It's interesting how it ages with the, sexism is probably always a theme, or at least the relationship between men and women, or women in society, men in society. That's always going to be some kind of theme. But as women were approaching the glass ceiling in 1979 and so forth, it was a timely subject, and it's still a timely subject. Sexual harassment has been an important subject the last, I don't know, 5 years, but it's always going to be a timeless theme as long as people are divided into men and women, which is probably going to be forever. So 9 to 5 was a very famous song. I was already a fan of Dolly Parton's when it came out, and it was a very successful pop song. So she was part of the crossover country artists who made it very big in the pop world too, like Crystal Gayle and Eddie Rabbitt, Barbara Mandrell, Anne Murray, Olivia Newton-John was showcased as a country artist, and then, you know, showed her true colors or whatever, developed beyond country or whatever. But there was a lot of crossover of country becoming mainstream and just popular in general, as opposed to being just popular in the South. You know, they used to call it country and Western music. And there's always been that influence within the pop culture at large. But Dolly Parton was a big part of bringing the country culture into the pop culture. Thinking of Urban Cowboy, Dallas, other chances for people with cowboy hats to be front and center, along with the rock gods and the crooners and the pop idols and so forth. So when I received a cassette player for Christmas, I received 2 cassettes. One was the soundtrack to Fame, and the other was 9 to 5 and Odd Jobs by Dolly Parton. And 9 to 5 and Odd Jobs is a really good album. If you're growing up without cassettes and without records, then you're not as familiar with the listen to side 1 and listen to side 2 format. You know, a record and a CD and a cassette had 2 sides, and those 2 sides make up the whole album, and a lot of people tried to make all of their songs on their albums go together, either with similar themes or similar orchestrations or similar points in their career when they had a certain level of development. And a Dolly Parton song always sounds like a Dolly Parton song because her voice is so distinctive. However, all the songs on 9 to 5 and Odd Jobs go together because they're all about working and about different professions and money and the common folk who have to work. Every song on that album is a good one to me, but of course it hit me at just that right time with my very first cassettes, and I could play them over and over and over, so I did, and they just age well. So in 9 to 5 and Odd Jobs, the cover is her about the time of her first movie. This is the theme song of her first movie. And she's got that short, curly blonde wig, and she's carrying all these implements, you know, like she's a woman of a jack of all trades, a Jill of all trades. She's got doing all these jobs. And it's just a great album. It's got Sing for the Common Man. It's got Poor Folks Living in a Rich Man's Town. It's got the plane wreck over Los Gatos Canyon. It's got Working Girl. It's got all these great songs that are about working. And so tonight we have our rehearsal, and then tomorrow we have our first performance with an audience. promises to be interesting. I've reached the point where I'm not a valuable ensemble player. I just cannot learn that many dances and songs in such a short period of time. If I'm ever going to have a role like this one where they want me to be in 10 different songs, I'm going to have the script for 3 or 4 months before they generally hand it out, because there's not one song that I know all the words to, and there's not one song that I know all the notes to, and there's not one song that I know all of the choreography to, as well as I want to, as well as I could know it. So as I progress with musicals, I want to get to the point where I'm actually singing what's in the score. If you listen to musicals and cast recordings, they're pretty much faking it. They're not really singing what's in the score. Shows are thrown together in a couple weeks, and although the songs on a cast recording almost always sound good, it's because they know how to fake their harmonies, and they know how to sing something that goes along with the tune, and they know how to just switch to the melody if they're not sure what their actual notes are. But although this musical is not classical music theater, which is not, this is not particularly the type of musical I'm interested in, I think it would be wonderful for everybody on stage to know what they're doing. For me, having to be in a certain place at a certain time, saying a certain word on a certain note, and all of those things simultaneously is just too much to think about, so I need to just be a featured character, or to have a score that I know inside and out. When I did Evita, I had watched the movie so many times that I already knew almost all the words, and I knew all the tunes, so I could figure out the harmonies pretty easily. So even though it would have felt like they'd thrown it together, but it didn't feel like that because I already knew it before I got the script in my hand. So come see our show. The sound guy broke his hand yesterday. Last week, something fell on his head and gashed him at work. I think the hand was at work too. One of the main girls, one of the main 3, isn't there. Another girl took her place. She's had the role for 2 days and she knows every word almost. Amazing. I don't know how. Other girl tested negative for COVID, tested positive for COVID. It was decided she could come back. Other people have tested for COVID and it's decided that they can't come back. Everybody's crazy with the COVID thing. It used to be a 14-day incubation period, they said. But now people can come back 3 days after testing negative or 5 days after testing negative. I don't know what the rules should be, but they're just absolutely arbitrary. It's crazy. So we've got a couple people out with COVID, a couple people who are waiting to see if they are out with COVID or if they're just sick. We've got one person that's come back from the COVID, that guy that was injured twice. Seems like there's more. Oh, yeah. We got rid of the first director. I don't know if he quit or if he was fired. I guess it doesn't matter. The decision was probably mutual. I'd like to work with him in the future. I think I could learn from his style. I'm trying to get to the point where I listen to all directors and just try to do what they say, and maybe I'll learn something. Then we got another director, and then we got a third director. So 3 directors in, and it looks like our show is going to be actually produced. So this fulfills some kind of development for me from my first cassette, that I ever received to one of my childhood artist, celebrity people, to being in a show and having it be retro as opposed to being a kid when the movie actually came out. So the trend of taking things that are 30 years old or 40 years old and turning them into a Broadway musical continues, and this is just part of that. So we'll see how the show goes. There's one or two more injuries. Oh yeah, somebody broke their hip right before auditions, and then hurt her knee, and I think her other knee, and I hurt my knee from choreography. Oh, this one dance we learned, one of the boys, we practiced it, and it had so much kneeling that for 3 days my quads hurt to such a degree that I couldn't just sit down. Like I had to hold on to something and lower myself down. Otherwise my quads were just in total pain. Yeah, 3 days. Because we practiced that one song 5 times or whatever, 6 times, and learned it that day. There were some other injuries, I think. Anyway, so come see the show. I hope you enjoy it, and I hope that I learn from this experience and get smaller roles in the future, or get scripts way ahead of time so I can actually learn the parts. Alright everybody, take care. It's January 11th, 2022.